Okay, I know where this is going.
Hello, everyone. It's your two favourite Australians coming to you all the way from New South Wales in Australia. Yes, it's the Aussie Minifan show. I'm Menas, the host of Menas Live. Joining me, as ever, is Aussie Stoolie Jamie. Jamie, how are you?
I'm not too bad, Menas. It's good to be back. Just sneaking in this February show. So, yeah, it's good to be back doing this show.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we timed this show absolutely perfectly because it was pre-planned we were going to record today. And then out of the blue, my hero, my idol, the genius is Kirk Minahan reached out to me and asked me to come on the show and give them some tips on how to improve the Wednesday show. And Jamie, I think, especially me, not so much Mayo, just lifted up that Wednesday slot completely.
100%. The Wednesday shows, as we know, have been kind of down since they started them at the turn of the year. And the fact that you were on, and Mayo to a lesser extent, actually made it an entertaining Wednesday show. Usually you can kind of skip the show or you play it and you're not really paying too much attention to it. But the second I heard that he was going to call two of his most high-profile enemies, I thought, 100% this is going to be Bob Murchison and Shirley Leon. And then when it was Menas and Mayo, it was still just as good because, I mean, it's good to have some criticism on the show. You got to go at Steve, which is always a good thing. And Mayo was also okay.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I showed a lot of commitment. So for the US listeners out there who don't know the time difference, that was actually 1:15 a.m. Australian time on Thursday morning. So I went to bed about 10:30 and got like a little power nap, and I woke up about 12:30 and I felt like I just wanted to stay in bed, but I was like, I can't let my good friend Kirk Minahan down. He needs some help with this Wednesday show. So I jumped on, and look, I don't have a lot of hate towards the show at the moment. I'm still loving it. The only thing I guess is around, the points I brought up about Steve checking out and the little technical things that they just can't seem to work out how to plug microphones in and stuff. But overall, I thought I got to get off my chest what's been bugging me.
Yeah, and you're very coherent doing it. Steve really couldn't get angry at you because you didn't get angry. You didn't raise your temper or anything like that. You sort of kept it level-headed, put your argument across. It was hard for Steve to actually get angry at you and call you a cunt live. Mayo, on the other hand, got a little bit hot-tempered, kind of went a bit not too far, but was really trying too hard to put points across from, early 2020. And of the two, you were definitely the better of the two, in quotation marks, cunts that appeared on the show. But it was still good, actually entertaining. I enjoyed it. So it was good to hear on a Thursday.
Yeah, and I think we did actually prize out of Steve that he has actually checked out. I mean, what's really evident is Kirk just doesn't really care. Kirk's just happy to kind of be a free agent now and do everything content-wise, and he just needs someone to, manage the technical stuff. So, by the end, Steve had basically admitted by the end of the episode that, yes, given the opportunity, he'd love to walk away as soon as possible. So I think Mayo and I got to the bottom of, expose Steve for what he really is. So, yeah, that was pretty satisfying.
I can imagine you've been one of the most notorious Steve haters for a long time now, slowly building that army up. And you really did pretty much get him to say, I've checked out on the show. Because he said if he had the choice between doing the show or the Secret Project, he'd clearly do the Secret Project. And, that's not what the Miniverse is here for. We were built around the KMS show, not the Secret Project. I can only imagine if the KMS show didn't precede the Secret Project, there's no way the Secret Project would be anywhere near as hyped as it is.
Yeah.
So it was good to just expose him.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of threw me off was when Kirk brought up the whole mother theory that I have around Steve mothering Kirk. And look, when it was presented back to me, the absurdity of it did kind of strike me. But I guess the overall point, it's more a mother in a type of podcast sense that Steve takes all the worry and stress off Kirk with all the technical stuff, and therefore Kirk's kind of codependent with him. I didn't really actually want to get into it. I was half asleep, and I just thought it's not really an argument you can ever win. It's kind of just my sort of amateur psychology take.
I feel like the mother argument, which we discussed on the show a few months back, is actually very valid. I think they just belittled it and played it in a way that isn't really the argument that you put forward. Steve is very much a mother figure to Kirk. Like you said, he takes the stress away from the show. He knows that Steve will do everything he has to do to make the show sound good, except for that one episode last week, which was just terrible.
Oh,
but it is legitimately, he is a mother figure. He makes Kirk, he keeps the stress away from Kirk, and that's what a mum's supposed to do. Make sure that their little baby is happy, and they just tried to play it off in a different sort of way. So,
yeah,
but your argument is definitely valid.
They tried to say that because I said Steve's checked out, how can he be a mother figure at the same time? But both things can be true. He can still be, looking after Kirk in that sense, but also not making any effort to find content that they can sort of have common ground on. The one thing I did sort of take away from Kirk, and I guess I do want to acknowledge this, that Kirk did say that sometimes Steve sends him stuff and he sort of doesn't pretend, but it comes across that it's something Kirk has found. And so I guess, maybe there's an element that Steve's doing stuff behind the scenes that we're not aware of, but everything on face value, everything we hear, everything we see, every moment that Steve treats the Minifans like shit, how could we get any other impression?
Yeah, you're very right. You see it on Twitter, you see it on the show. He just doesn't like the Minifans, which kind of brings up my argument for the Hall of Fame debate. Well, we'll talk about that when we get into the Hall of Fame. But yeah,
Yep.
He has checked out on the show. And you're right, he can still be a mother figure, but also not contribute to content, because what Kirk needs from Steve isn't content related stuff. Kirk can find content. What Kirk needs from Steve is that calming fact that the show's going to get up, it's going to sound good, everything on the technical side will be fine, which puts Kirk so much more at ease. He doesn't need Steve's help on the content. So he can check out on the content all he's like, but the mother figure part is the fact that the show will go up and it will 99.9% of the time sound pretty good.
Yeah, the only thing I disagree with there is Steve's job is to find content for Kirk. And
Yeah,
I think Steve could be better at that. Play stuff that would maybe induce an emotional reaction from Kirk, something that might annoy him, just surprise Kirk with stuff every now and then, grab little bits. So, that's the only thing I disagree with you there. I think Steve actually, especially in those Wednesday shows when Kirk says, let's talk about something, Steve should make an effort to find something that Kirk would want to talk about, not some old political story that's bothering Steve or some Bitcoin take.
Oh, the politics stuff is just getting too much. I mean, you lost Steve. Your guy's not in the White House anymore. Time to move on. Just like Mayo.
He's in the White House. Steve is a closet Democrat. I mean, that's what's clear. He probably voted for Biden. He's probably voted Democrat all his life. He's just got this pseudo Republican image that he fostered while he was on the Howie Carr show. But I think, as you can see, he's slowly walking that back. Just like everything, he's a constructed character with no sort of real soul, I guess.
Oh, he is Subaru Steve for a reason, and caller Donald Trump doesn't really. Liberal Steve is his nickname, but I mean, he tries to be Jerry Callahan 2.0, a little bit more of an edgier Jerry Callahan, because Jerry is one note. You can't take anything he says seriously. But
yeah, Jerry's way better than Steve, though. I mean, Jerry is way better.
I have been listening to his show more. Turtle Boy gets on my nerves a little bit because he's just way too over the top. He should be on Channel Zero with Ian the boys.
Just ignore all those sounds.
But it's Steve. Everything he brings forward to the table seems to be political or cryptocurrency, like you say. I mean, there is a lot of crypto talk in the Minifan world, so maybe he's feeding a little bit off that. But the vast majority of Minifans don't give a shit about cryptocurrency. Really don't give a shit too much about politics anymore. Biden's in the office. Let's see that train wreck go as it goes. Try bring things to the table that Kirk's actually interested in, like radio drama. The Ben Albright stuff was really good, where Ben Albright made that little snide comment that he's a talentless hack. That's the stuff that Kirk wants to hear. People going at him, maybe like Boston Globe shit where, Kevin Cullen writes a story that's completely made up, like not politics. Kirk can only do politics so much before it really pisses him off. So
I'm happy to jump on every Wednesday with Kirk now and, contribute to the Wednesday show, maybe the Manners segment every week, the Manners moment. I don't know, something. But in today's Aussie Minifan show, we're obviously going to get to sort of the current issues from the last month. We're going to go through the Hall of Fame ballot. I've got a little bit of stuff from the sort of Miniverse content. It's pretty thin on the ground for quality. But, I guess the big news is Manners Live starts March 20th, the first episode. And look, there is some confusion with Kirk about this show and Manners Live. And I'm going to play some audio, but I think he thinks you're also the co-host of Manners Live. Obviously you're not.
Yeah.
Let's just have a listen to what Kirk thinks about you.
Goes away. You know what I'm saying, Manners?
Yeah, I love Mayo. I'm a Mayo guy.
Oh, yeah, we all are. We all are. Any other complaints or questions or criticisms?
Well, not really. Just Menace Live is returning to your network.
Oh, is it? Oh, we'll see about that.
next month.
Yeah, because the guy you hosted with is and another cunt, another absolute cunt who looks like got kicked out of his house. Is living in some apartment somewhere. He's a loser
Not
too.
wrong.
True or
I
false?
mean, there's not a lot of Aussie Minifans to choose from.
Oh, you don't talk.
Yeah,
He
he's
sucks.
probably homeless.
He sucks. Oh God, I hope he has a fucking heart attack. I really do. I hope he's so fat and ugly. He's disgusting. That show right now is. I'm considering picking it up for another season. Considering. Because right now the YouTube.
Okay, so yeah. So yeah, you slammed you again. I don't know why Kirk doesn't like you anymore, but obviously with there's two shows, there's the Aussie Minifan show and Menace Live, and of course the Aussie Minifan show is going nowhere.
Yeah, I'm not really the co-host of Menace Live. I think I've appeared on there once. I think I called in once, and I may have been in studio with you once. So I'm not really a co-host of that show, but you know what? It's just good to know that I've got a little bit of rent in his head for free. He's not wrong, but I mean, I wasn't kicked out of my house, but I do live in an apartment in the beautiful city of Sydney, where I wouldn't imagine being anywhere else in the world right now when you look at COVID. But yeah, it's just good to be on that death list.
You're not.
No,
homeless.
I'm not homeless. Might look it sometimes with the beard and the man bun, but no, it's just good to know that I'm getting a mention on the show. You know, I'm still in his mind. Obviously, I'm doing something right, and you know, I'm on that death list again. Me and Buddy Cianci, 1-1 for the moment, so I might finish on top of that list at the end of the year if I keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Goals.
And speaking of Menace Live, just remember I've got a whole range of merchandise on Teespring, so go and punch in Menace Live. You know, Steve's an arsehole. He's trying to come across. I'm trying to make some money. Look, sales have been really strong. All the money's going to mental health and youth charities. I do know one in it's based locally in Sydney where it's all volunteers. So basically, you know, 99 cents in every dollar gets to the people at the front line. So I think that's important. So yeah, if you want to contribute to mental health charities, we know obviously Kirk's a basket case and he battles with it all the time. So yeah, it's certainly worthwhile cause. Any sort of issues from the last month you want to sort of open the batting with, Jamie?
I will start with saying that I ordered my own shirt. It's on the main show shirt, so that should be coming soon, hopefully. You know, there was that Wednesday show a couple of weeks back that was just god awful. I almost gave up on it at the start just because the audio was terrible. The pauses between them was just, I mean, bad move from Steve. But I mean, you know, you're going to be like Kirk knew he was going to be on the road for that show. Why don't you just bank a show? The Wednesday show, really, it's probably the least downloaded show for the week. Why don't you just bank it after you do the Monday show? Make it something small. Yeah, you're not going to be on current topics, but hey, you get something out there. We might be able to even include Mike on it for a second show because you know the audio is nowhere near as good when they're on the road. So just bank that show in studio, make it sound good, put it out. You don't have, then Steve doesn't have to worry about working for a couple of days. Gets to relax, indulge in the Minifan conflicts that is always happening. It's just, you know, just think ahead a little bit. Kirk, that's not on Kirk. Kirk just assumes when he gets on, it's gonna sound good. Steve kind of messed up there. That's fully on him. Jared missing the show on Friday. That was hugely disappointed.
Where are you on that? Jared or Steve's fault?
I mean, that's 50-50. Jared misread some things. Steve wasn't really great with his communication. I can't really fault Steve. I want to fault Steve a lot for that, but you know, Jared's got to read the lines or confirm if he's not sure. Hey, are we doing this in studio or via Zoom? Like that's a simple text message. Like just confirm it before, you know, you're going to miss the show and Kirk's deep down going to be pretty pissed off at you. Other than that, it's been okay. Some shows are getting better. I love the Rocket stuff. Having the Rocket on is great. Blind Mike's pretty good. You know, it's not what it used to be because we're just used to Blind Mike being in there every day. But, you know, in time, I think we'll all get used to the once a week stuff from Blind Mike. But no, it just the Wednesday show needs to improve. The Menace Minute needs to happen on that Wednesday show.
Yeah, absolutely. Menace every Wednesday. I think the Minifans would love that. I agree with you about that Wednesday show. It was a disaster and just, you know, displayed a sort of real lack of skill when it comes to producing from Steve. As I said, and I just think Steve should say to Kirk, look, you need to know how to plug in a USB microphone and headphones. Otherwise, I'm not going to produce your show remotely anymore because it does make Steve look bad. And Kirk is a very smart guy. You could definitely plug in a USB mic. It's not the fucking most complicated thing. So yeah, agree with you on that. Yeah, really disappointed Jared wasn't in last Friday because honestly, it felt like we had the great Monday show with Mike. shitty Wednesday show, shitty Friday show. It really felt like we just got sort of one proper show that week.
Yeah.
So it was a tough
And
week.
And also, he promised us 6 hours of content a week, even though it's going to be 3 shows, it'll come to 6 hours content at least. It was the first time that it fell well below the 6 hours, but I mean, I need my 6 hours of Kirk Minahan content. As much as he thinks we hate the show, I love the show. It gets me through my days. Hate that it's only 3 days a week, but I want that 6 hours of content. That will hold me over. That will definitely hold me over.
Yeah, I agree. All right, some other Minifan stuff. One thing since our last show is Sheldon from North Dakota. North Dakota absolutely ripped Blind Mike.
Yep.
That was an epic rant from Sheldon. I mean, I have to say Sheldon won me over with that rant. It was a side of him I hadn't seen before, but just the passion with which he tore into Mike. Yeah, big fan of Sheldon's work now.
Yeah, I didn't think he had it in him. He's such a quiet guy, I mean, a couple of private threads with him, a football-related thread, and he's just a pretty low-key, quiet guy. But to hear him go off the way he did on Blind Mike, who, it's hard to hate Mike,
Well,
it's
he's frustrating.
He can be frustrating, but like to just go off on him like that was totally out of character for Sheldon. Like it's just like it's been like a whole year of just Blind Mike slowly wearing him down to the point where he's just gone, fuck this, I'm over this guy, and just tears him a new one. That was good content.
Yeah, it was great content. And look, I did have to cancel my subscription with Mike's Patreon. I'll tell you why I did this, because it's actually making me hate Mike. Like every time some other shitty bit of content would drop, I would just get angry, and it was like triggering some unhealthy emotions towards him that really he doesn't deserve. He's made it very clear this is not going to be a success. This is just something he's going to do for a bit of fun. He's not really put any thought into it. He's not really thinking about who's listening. It's just kind of something where he sort of waddles in with his blind stick and presses record and sort of sees what happened. So, I've listened to the odd free episode, but again, they're pretty horrible. I mean, I'm sick of cancel culture, and I like Craig. He seems like a nice guy, but he adds nothing to that show. Like he actually like sucks the energy out of the show.
I think he's funnier than Mike, to be honest. Some of the especially on this week's episode,
well, I haven't listened.
Craig had a lot better like one-liners than
was
Mike.
that the Chris D'Elia one? The Chris D'Elia, yeah, that was a good episode. That was their best, I think, so far.
I mean, I couldn't give a shit about Chris D'Elia. He seems like he didn't do anything wrong, but he just seems like a scumbag. But just, Craig had the good lines that sort of broke up the seriousness, made it a little bit more funny, which is what I thought that show was going to be about. But I'm with you. I'm over cancel culture. Kevin Clancy was right. It's here. Embrace it. Fuck, it's not going away. Like, it's never going away. You might as well just accept it.
Yeah. And the thing about Mike is, I guess, and maybe Sheldon's, why Sheldon was so angry is, it's kind of like a child that consistently disappoints you. It's just, oh, okay, here we go again. Here we go again. I mean, no wonder Mike's dad shot through.
Yeah, I mean, I probably skipped a couple of the free episodes just because I looked at the title and I heard like the first minute and I'm like, I'm not in on this one. But I thought the Chris D'Elia stuff would be interesting. I thought he'd have the usual take that Mike has when it comes to this type of stuff, like a full-on defense mode. But he just totally flipped the script and went the other way. It is a bit of, he's been so good on the Kirk Minahan show for so long, despite what all his haters have to say. And now he's doing this. It's just, you're right. He's just disappointing. You expected it to be something good because Blind Mike can be good, but without Kirk, there's no one to really bring that
but there's no
that
thought
entertainment
into it.
out.
There's just no thought into it. There's no. It's just, I'm going to review an old TV show. I mean, who's watching these friggin' old TV shows? I mean,
you're not wrong.
Dummy, and then More on Money. Like, I mean, it's a parody of a money show, I'm guessing, because Blind Mike's financial advice is 100% going to be wrong. So it's just, all this content sucks. I love Mike, but he's just fucking frustrating. And I reached out to him to help him, to try and give him some advice. So let's have a chat. And he was so sort of defensive, yet that fucking idiot Craig reaches out to him and says, I want to produce your whole show. And Mike goes, yeah, I'm not going to sort of think about who my producer should be. I'm not going to try and find someone actually fucking good at their job. So he's just an idiot. Like, as I said, I really like him, but I guess that's why it's so frustrating.
yeah, he's good on the main show, but by himself, maybe Zambrano was right. maybe you just don't see it. Like he's good. He's good with Kirk, but I don't know, doing his own thing. I mean, I'm not really into discussing comedy, like in that kind of way. I love comedy, but I'm not going to talk about specials and all that type of shit. Although the one where he shit on, I think it was the Australian female comedian. They shit on her special, which I agree. I had to watch that. It was just garbage. So I was with him on that. But other than that, like, no one really cares about comedy that much. Like, come on, man. Like, try to be something else. No one's going to take your stock advice. You made money on the stock market because Barstool is a rocket and went to the moon when Penn came in.
Dumb luck.
Like,
dumb fucking
yeah,
luck.
exactly. Yeah, bought really low and then it's just skyrocketed because that's what Dave Portnoy does. So, but yeah, I mean, I never subscribed to the Patreon. And I feel vindicated now when I hear that you've pulled out. I know a few people have pulled out. So
hopefully I'll resubscribe. It's more just upsetting. It's bad for my mental health. Now, since the last show of ours, I guess Steve's been exposed as a dummy because of his awful trivia knowledge. The fact that he just could not answer any questions. He quit the trivia and Justin replaced him. I mean, Justin, you know, that dummy replaced Steve, which gives you an idea of how dumb Steve is. But then Steve trying to play off that he's never come across as smart. And I'm glad Kirk pulled him up on this and said, you always come across as smarter than everyone and try to project this image of being, you know, some intellectual. Well, the trivia, the dozen has exposed Steve again, you know, add it to the list of like, you know, add it to the many lies Steve has got on his resume so far.
Yeah, I actually thought he would be, if not better than Kirk. It's hard to be better than Kirk because he knows that quirky knowledge, but at least a good second fiddle. And Jared would just be to answer the baseball questions when they come. But it's the whole thing's been a facade. Like he comes off with the Piscinian Society, you know, S.E. Robinson going on that Tom Hartman show, being all political and knowledgeable and higher than thou, and he's just as dumb as fucking Jared Carrabis. At least Carrabis is whatever that baseball player he references all the time, has his big moment that changes the game. Steve just has nothing.
Yeah.
And I think Justin would have been a better fit because Justin would have been up on the current stuff that Kirk and maybe Jared just aren't in, the pop culture, other sports that aren't baseball. That's where Justin would have shined. Steve doesn't know that stuff. He doesn't know current culture. He can barely pronounce names of actors right or musicians right. So he called the guy that performed at the Super Bowl the weekend, he called him the Weeknd because it was WEEKND. Like, seriously, the guy is a robot he's Captain America from 1920. He just has no pop culture. So Justin is probably a better thing, but you know, Jared Carrabis wants it to be those three, and that's going to be the hill that he dies on.
He fucked it for us, Carrabis.
Yeah.
Well,
it would have been better
Justin
content.
Pedroia is like fucking cock down his mouth. Jesus. Okay. I want to get onto the Hall of Fame ballot, but before I do that, just any quick thoughts on the fact that it seems like BA and intern Will have been officially banned from the YouTube network. What's your take on that?
I thought Kirk was cool with intern Will. I thought, you know, he jokes about him on the show in a nice way. I thought that was all good, but obviously not. But yeah, I like BA, man. He's my guy. He runs the comment section. He's critical, but now he's listening to the show, so we're allowed to be critical if we listen to the show. But I guess he's just pissed off Kirk that much that he's just over it, which is a shame because BA is a good character. Yeah. Intel's a pretty good show.
They just go too far. That's their problem. Always too far, never knowing, you know, what's funny. And BA's, you know, okay in small doses, but just to me, he just goes too far all the time.
I think we get him in small doses, but I mean, he's been on a few other shows recently, like the Kirk and Off show. That was a good interview. I actually enjoyed that. Sort of talked about how the Zonka thing came around, and you know.
But then he says, I still sort of, you know, message with Zonka every now and then, you know.
Yeah, in the comment section.
Even though Zonka is like a fucking scumbag, you know, that's what I'm saying. At some point, you've just got to go, actually, this person is trying to ruin Kirk's life for real. Not a bit of fun, you know, like obviously when I'm on Manners Live and I'm taking shots at people, there's an element of parody to it. I'm not actually going to go after and try and ruin someone's life. Like, you know, Steve's a bad example because I do want him to die, but, you know, like some enemies, you know, obviously there's an element of humor to it, whereas BA doesn't see that someone like Zonka's actually causing harm.
I mean, I'll be lying if I said I hadn't not messaged, but like interacted with Zonka on a couple of my threads when we've kind of agreed on certain topics. But yeah, you're right. He does go a little bit over the top.
Fuck you then. The guy threatened me. The guy fucking threatened me because he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he did mention that in a DM to me, and I sort of told him, "Hey, Menace is cool. Like, lay off. Like, this is all just fun and games. Like, there are like your Steve stuff, 100% real. That is, I've seen it for a long time now. That is 100% real. But you know, the other stuff where we throw out criticisms, it's just all in good fun. We know Kirk's going to react because he loves the show. I mean, you look at what he was like at EEI when Jerry teased enough about me. Like, he loves this show. It used to be his baby, so he's going to get angry. But you know,
part of Kirk's shtick has always been criticizing content and actually like striving always to do good content. Like, don't be one of those people that just comes in and just just sort of does it like a robot and doesn't put your heart and soul into it. So I feel that as Minifans, we can be sometimes critical when the lead producer just goes in and just sort of does it very robotically and boringly. So I think Kirk's built this world, and that part of it is a striving to do great content. Yeah,
the show, like I said, I've listened back to shows from like early last year, and it was the best. I listened it to a second and third time. I'm laughing my head off. Cullen was amazing. The way the show is now, because Steve is 100% checked out and Blind Mike's gone, it's just not as good as it used to be. There are every now and then you get a really good episode, like the Rocket episodes will be really good. A Monday episode with Blind Mike will be amazing. Like the Ben Albright one this week was great. But they've gone away from what made the show amazing, which was, a lot of Minifan stuff. But you're right, bad radio, parody songs, prank phone calls, good content. Now it's just, when it's Steve and Kirk, it's politics and cryptocurrency and a small amount of bad radio. They don't do bad radio anymore. They don't take the piss out of Greg Hill. They don't take the piss out of whatever that other show with the War of Roses was with those idiots that criticized Kirk. It's just gone away from what made the show as big as it is. And I know they say it still makes money, it's still going good, but there's no way it's as big as it was start to middle of last year. Like it's just gone downhill. Like Steve checking out has been a huge negative on the show.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into the Hall of Fame ballot. Obviously, the big exclusion was Kevin from Bristol, not even eligible. Did you see him on Cameo? Did you see Clout Chasing Kevin in action? What was that? What was the story? What do you think?
I mean, it was a little sad. Like, I like Kevin from Bristol. He's got good songs. He's got great calls when he calls in and it's different characters. But I mean, Kirk's right. He's only relevant because of Kirk. Like, and to go on Cameo, and I mean, I just don't understand the thinking behind that. Like, you've cost yourself at least this year on the ballot for the Hall of Fame. We know Kirk will maybe change his mind in the future, but then you double down, and the sob story video on Twitter after, that you want to be in with Tim and Steve going in. You just can't do that to Kirk. Kirk doesn't react to emotion like that. That's not how he rolls. Like, that was a bad read on Kevin from Bristol's part there. Not the ultimate clout chaser, because we know who the ultimate clout chaser is, but it wasn't a good look. Yeah. It was a very bad look.
I feel sorry for Kevin. I think he's got a big heart, and
he'll be on there eventually.
Yeah.
This isn't permanent.
I think the Cameo was a bit of a mistake. I think if you want to reach out to Kirk and ask permission, you kind of got to do it before you sign up.
Yes.
It's probably not going to work if you do it the other way. And that's just my advice. So look, I've got the 2021 Minifan Hall of Fame ballot. Let's just go through it really quickly. And I guess really quick take on, should they be on the ballot first? And then if so, what are their chances of making it in first ballot? All right. Steve from Providence.
100% gonna get in.
Okay. Yep. I think there's hard to argue with that one. Tim in Canton.
Yeah, 100% should be on. 99% sure he'll get in.
Okay. So that's interesting, because that's like 2 of the 3 spots right there done.
Yep.
Doxing John Featherston.
Nah, he should be on the ballot, I think, but I don't think he'll get in this year. In the future, but
he's gone a bit quiet. He's a bit of a one-trick pony, and he has tried to dox plenty of other Minifans. So doxing John should be ineligible. TJ Hubbard, I would say TJ, definite Hall of Fame ballot, but also probably not going to get in.
Yeah, Kirk's big on what they've done for the show. TJ's really big in the Miniverse, but when it comes to show things, he's been very quiet since the hot dog competition, but definitely deserves to be on there. He is future Hall of Fame Minifan for sure.
Yeah, I don't think he's as big a fan as he used to be of the show. I'm not sure about that, but it just seems like maybe he's more a Big Cat fan than a Kirk fan
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Warden of the North obviously deserves to be on the ballot, and yeah, I'd have him pretty close to actually on the ballot just because of his contributions to the world.
Yeah, the parody song guys, it's all hard. There is only one spot available for me, and he'd be very close. He'd be very close to getting it. Some of his songs and the way he mixes clips in is amazing.
Yeah.
So he's definitely a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah. R.A. Minahan. Okay, I would have not had R.A. Minifan on the Hall of Fame ballot. Anyone on History Buff should be ineligible for the ballot. So that would cross Minahan, R.A. Minahan off the ballot, and I think he's no chance of getting in. As they said on the show, he's done very little for the show lately.
Yeah, it's very much a what have you done for me lately? It's been a while since he's done prank calls, so he'd be borderline to make it on my ballot if I was picking a ballot. But yeah, I'm very confident he won't get in.
What do you think about Lauren Lynn?
I mean, we're big on what have you done for the show. I mean, Lauren Lynn's been at all the live shows. She's definitely a ballot for the Hall of Fame. And I hate that they only put one of the Minna ladies on because a lot of them are very good. Tara, engaged at the show. Ali T's been amazing. She's called in a few times too, had her baby blessed on the show. I just don't think she'll get in first ballot. She's definitely in the future. She'll definitely get on. She's definitely one of my favorite Minna fans, but maybe not this year, but she should be on the ballot.
Yeah, if they want to have a token female, she'd probably be the one that would get in, considering she's the only female on the ballot. So I sort of agree with you. I do feel that, when the Minna Ladies show ended, it kind of did, the Minna Ladies kind of dropped out of the world a bit, which is a shame. I think they were a great addition to the world, having that sort of Minna Ladies chat every week. But yeah, I think Lauren definitely deserves to be on the ballot. Not sure she'll get in. But a fine looking woman. Right.
Miss
Steve,
you, Brandy.
Steve's a liar guy.
Man, like there's only one spot in my ballot, and he's so close to. I think he's a 95% chance of getting in. I know he's copped a little bit of shit recently, but of the people voting for this, I mean, you look at Kirk's probably going to put him in. Steve will probably put him in. Justin will be a maybe. He could. 95% chance of getting in my books.
Yeah, I agree. If you're looking at contribution to the main show, his contribution is immense, and I think he must put in a lot of time getting those tracks together. So, yeah, I'm going to agree with that one.
If the Wilbur had happened already, if the COVID hadn't happened, I mean, he's almost 100% sure because he's going to be a part of that show. So it's hard to omit him.
Now, Ned Snark, where are you with maybe the dumbest and most boring Minifan?
See, I like Ned and I like Anal, so I won't criticize him, but I just don't think he's a.
You like
he's
Anal,
going to get
the
in.
show, or
both? Let's go with both.
Let's go with both.
But
pitcher or catcher?
Definitely pitcher.
Now, just tell me, do you actually listen to Anal?
I do on Spotify. I think I'm the only Australian listener. I was talking to LK about it. So,
how do you get through it? I mean, I gave up weeks ago trying to listen to that. I mean, I would get 2 minutes in and be sort of, looking for sharp objects to poke my fucking brains out.
It's just fun, the other week, or not the other week, a couple of weeks ago, Ned and LK were together and they were ganging up on Adam because he had COVID. It's just the 2-on-1 sort of gang up is always funny. And I'm with the boycott of Amazon. I've never ordered anything from Amazon, but I'm boycotting them. So
fuck. Maybe Kirk is right about you. And they're liking Anal, Jesus. As I said, it's probably the worst show on YouTube, like all of YouTube.
That Super Lemon Haze is still going.
At least they've got some sort of angle.
Anyway. True, there is a direction that
other than three middle-aged men just fucking. Anyway, I've been too mean to them. They're all lovely guys. Next, obviously, Manners, myself made it on the ballot. What I was happy with was when Red, Ziggy, and Sheldon were, putting the ballot together. They all wanted me on, so a unanimous entry. I don't think I'm a chance at getting in actually in the Hall of Fame, but just being recognised for my contribution is quite pleasing.
I think as an advisor to the show, you, if not should be in the Hall of Fame, should at least have a vote. Kirk has gone to you a number of occasions now for advice on the show. or taken your advice that you've given here. So definitely deserve to be on the ballot. You just look at the voters, and I can already see 2 big voters that probably won't vote you in, and maybe a third in Rocket because he just doesn't know who we are. So yeah, you definitely deserve to be on the ballot, but I just don't think you're going to get in this year.
I mean, the Australian novelty factor could work in my factor.
Yeah.
It could work in my favor. Sorry. Trump caller, again, best caller, probably not enough to get in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, very recent as well. Like hasn't been around a long time. Probably listens for a long time, but yeah, recency bias is a boost. Should be on there because he's a great caller. Drunk Greg Hill's a better caller, and that's a huge omission from the ballot.
Ooh.
But I just don't think you'll get in this year.
Yeah, Giggs on the ballot. Yeah, good on him. I mean, congratulations. I'm surprised
Should
it's
be
not
on there.
I'm surprised it's not Gig and Tony because they're like locked at the hips.
I mean, he should be on there. He is a good Minifan, but I would have put the Drunk Greg Hill caller in that spot over Gig. And I love Better Than It Used to Be. Such a good show.
Blind Prison Mike. I guess you've got to sort of throw a dog a bone every now and then.
I like BPM. Again, what he's done for the show isn't a huge amount. He's good in the Miniverse, but again, for the on-show content,
the show's done more for him than he's done for the show.
Yeah, there's not a lot of on-show stuff from BPM. So if that's Kirk's criteria, then I don't know how he's gotten on there. I should be on there. I've made that desk list. I think it's 6 times now. So I'm in there. But yeah, he is a great Minifan. He's a Hall of Fame Minifan in the Miniverse. But for the show, yeah, not sure whether or not he should be on the ballot or definitely not get in yet.
Yeah, you're in a tough spot because, I've sort of got in first with this sort of novelty Australian character. And, you sort of...
I'm the hated Minifan.
Yeah, you're in my shadow. Okay, Patrick from Discord. I don't even know what he's on the ballot for. He hasn't done anything for the show, I don't think ever, apart from turning up at events. So why would
he's
he be
done
on?
a few prank calls. He's had a few prank calls during that time, but you're right. I mean, other than the fact that he was the second president of the Minifans, the most unrecognized president of the Minifans, but I mean, the Discord was a clusterfuck from the start, so I don't know how that's a positive for him. Kirk hated the Discord because that's where all the shit started happening. So yeah, he should probably be on the ballot, but I don't think he'll get in.
And then I'm pretty sure I know where you stand on the next one, clout chasing closet case Carano. I obviously think he should definitely be on the Hall of Fame. His contribution to the show has been immense, whether you like him or not. But obviously you probably wouldn't have him on your ballot.
Honestly, I'm going to shock you here. He should be on the ballot.
Okay, yeah.
He has done a hell of a lot for the show in the name of clout chasing. I don't think he'll get in. But I don't think you should get in because Hall of Fame Minifan means you actually have to not block 99% of the Minifans. Like,
it doesn't actually say that on the ballot.
But he should be on the ballot. He should be on the ballot. He will probably get in because Kirk will vote for him to piss everybody off. Steve will vote for him because he's a suckhole. And Carabas will probably vote for him because he's now been on Quantum Week, which he's dead to me now. So, But yeah, he should be on the ballot, but I don't want him to get in.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get in. But he might sneak a few votes because they all know him. So there could be some familiarity bias there.
And
Bob
Kirk said it many times.
Now, Bob Murchison replaced John from Scranton on the Hall of Fame ballot. Did you catch when Kirk said to John on the show, obviously John wasn't on air, but he just said, "You're not part of the show. Go away. Leave me alone. Leave us alone." I actually think there's an element of truth to that. Like, I think Kirk's like, okay, I've been trying to get you to back up a bit for the last year, but you just won't. So now I'm saying you're not allowed on the Hall of Fame ballot. I'm going to replace you with the biggest scumbag, Bob Murchison, and please back off.
Yeah, I love John from Scranton. He's my guy. He's done a lot for me.
I like
he should be. He should be on that ballot. I had a few people on that ballot at the moment just because he has contributed a lot to the show. He does a lot for the Miniverse. He does a lot for the show.
You think Carano's a clout chaser? I think John, lovely guy. As I say, I really, really like him. But, when I organised the Minifan Mash last summer, I've said this before, John wanted to be on every minute, every night. He's desperate for attention. It's so sad. He's definitely using the Kirk Minahan show to kind of boost his own profile. Terrific guy, but just ease up. I mean, it's too much. too much.
I think he's using the Kirk Minahan show and the YouTube network to develop his skills, because he is very skillful with what he does with design and video editing and audio editing. I think he's using this as a platform to develop his skills, not so much to grow his profile, but just to develop as, an audio producer, a video producer, to further himself in the future. I think he should be on there. I like him. He's really good. Obviously, if he was on there, he wouldn't get in because Steve won't vote for him. Although I think he's done a lot for Steve behind the scenes that Steve won't admit to, and especially for Justin. But Kirk would never vote for him. So
I mean, a men's exclusive. John, would have been happy to get Steve fired. I mean, he did dig around Steve's past to look for evidence to, get Steve cancelled. So there is that element, I think.
Maybe that's how I'm going to play it.
And a bit like Zonka and stuff. John just can't sort of turn. Until Zonka turned on John couldn't sort of push Zonka away. So
yeah.
I think Bob's a better candidate.
I think Bob should be on there 100%, regardless of in place of John from Scranton, because without Bob Burchison, we wouldn't have the KMS show. We wouldn't have so much of the content. We wouldn't have the fiery Kirk that we get. I'm going to shock the world here. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have this podcast.
Yeah, you talk about contribution to the show. We don't have the show without Bob Murchison. Sure, he's fucked Kirk over 1,000 times and caused him unknown hours and months of heartache, but Kirk's right when he put his name forward. There's no bigger fan. He listens every day. He contributes in more ways than we know. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame, even if it's just for a joke.
Yeah. I mean, he's been an immense contributor, that's for sure. Okay, let's continue. Ted Sellers. I mean, how can you not like the little guy? I would say he's definitely the funniest person that Kirk's ever sort of had around him. Like, he's way funnier than, say, Mike or something. So I don't think Ted Sellers will get in, but certainly deserves to be on the ballot.
Yep, agree on both. If he was on the Mike project full time, I'd probably subscribe.
And then I've got 3 here that I could go either way. So Blobe, I think, has done some good things, the Blobies, and he used to write the columns for DC's website and stuff. But generally, I think Blobe, you could sort of take it or leave it. There's probably, if you could sort of interchange him.
I mean, the debacle of the Blobies is, high on my mind. How I didn't get International Minifan of the Year, how my podcast didn't get put outside of the Miniverse podcast. When Quantum Week is inside the Miniverse, how was that even considered? He is good for the show. I don't know if he does much for the show. He does stuff for the Miniverse. He's very much a John from Scranton type. The Blobies were for the Minifans. This new March Madness bracket he's got going is for the Minifans. I'm going to get smashed in the first round, but so I won't be paying too much attention after that. But he should be on the ballot. I just don't know if he's done enough for the show to get in.
Great. Sopranos guy, no way. He shouldn't be on this ballot. I can think of a few people I'd have on. So yeah,
Drunk Greg Hill.
Yeah,
better than him.
Intern Will. I can go either way with this one. Like, he's banned from the YouTube network, but he is a character in the show. He's the butt of many jokes. So yeah, it's obviously never going to be on the ballot again and never going to make it into the room.
Yeah, this is his first and only chance to get in there, and I just don't think he's going to get the votes. Kirk won't vote for him. Steve might vote for him because he was Steve's intern. Mike might vote for him, but yeah, I don't think he's going to get the whatever 66% you need to get into the thing. But he should be on the ballot. Big contributor to the show, content-wise and behind the scenes. So definitely should be on the ballot.
Now, I think Visionless Dave was a massive exclusion. I think he 100% should have been on the Hall of Fame ballot. And the fact that Red and Sheldon and Ziggy didn't even mention him, and then tried to pretend the week after that they just forgot about the person they'd done a show with for months and months and months. I mean, that's complete horse shit. VD should have been on there. He was an immense character in the show last year. He did a lot behind the scenes. So I would have had him on the ballot 100%. I know he's kind of moved away from the Miniverse a bit, but okay, so's Featherston, so's Hubbard, so's R.A. Minahan. I could go on the whole fucking list. So VD should be there.
I mean, it comes back to, again, what have you done for me lately? He's kind of out of the world. He was very, like last year, his calls were great. Bit of a suckhole for Steve, which I know you don't like, but he was good. Him and Ziggy going at each other was a good little bit of banter. He should definitely be on the ballot for what he's done in the past, but I just don't think he'll get in.
Yeah, agree. Agree that he probably wouldn't get in, but he should be on the ballot. All right, so that's the Hall of Fame. I'll be campaigning obviously for votes right throughout the next couple of months. Good time for Men is Live to hit the YouTube network again, try and win some voters. But remember, 20th of March, Men is Live.
Gotta get
some
Carabas on.
get some merch, and also we've started an Aussie trivia team. It's you, me, and Andy.
Yeah.
So we'll be joining Tim and Catton's trivia show.
Keen.
I guess just to wrap this one up, Jamie, let's just go through some of the Miniverse content. So all of the Minna Family season 1 is over. What did you think of it?
I love it. I was on it, and it was fun being on it for the small time I was. But we got one of the most iconic moments so far of the year in the Miniverse with Justin vomiting up on camera a gallon of milk.
Well, even Justin axing the first show mid-show will live in
the controversy
our memories forever.
I think it's possibly, aside from this show, the best show in the Miniverse right now. I think Tim and Rob do an amazing job. The way they have it going, it's just pretty much just shooting the shit with different guests on every week. It's great. I can't wait for season 2.
Yeah, and what about me criticizing Steve for not reaching out to them? I mean, that's horseshit. If you're, producing a show, you've got a YouTube channel and you've got 2 guys spending hours putting a show together, wouldn't you reach out a couple of times and say, well done, or whatever, anything?
Make an appearance. Doesn't have to be for 30 minutes. Just jump on for 2 minutes.
No, but
and shoot the shit over
I don't mind that. Steve works 5 days a week, so his weekends, I'm not going to take them away from him, but at least shoot them a message, say, love it, whatever.
Yeah.
Just be supportive of people who are trying to contribute to the world.
And they do it in a great way. They're very positive. There's no criticism of the show. It's just a good, fun family show.
They do clever stuff. Rob spends hours putting these quirky videos together. It's not just, it's not just Men is Live where I get on and spew hate speech for an hour. So my comments were, there was a week where Tim Ridgels was away and the show had a really down week, all in the Minute family. My only criticism for them is I feel they try and pack too much into each episode. I could actually pull out a couple of segments each week and just keep it to that kind of 40-minute, 45-minute show. I think it would be probably better. You would have a more compelling watch, but minor criticism. Season 1 finale, just too much backslapping. I mean, they carried on like they've been doing an episode a week for the last 10 years. They did 6 episodes beforehand, and it's just like them sucking themselves off. It was a bit too much, and Kirk won't like that. I mean, great. Well done. You did 6 YouTube shows, and then you, on the 7th, you talked about for most of it how good you were.
Yeah, Kirk's not a big thing on backslapping yourself. I mean, credit to them, they've done a really good job, but it was a little bit too much sucking each other's dicks.
Yeah. Great effort from them. I was a little bit annoyed because I sent in a video for Rob, and in it I said I thought Harmon was boring, and then he just muted that. And so it didn't go to air. But I just think that Be a Man shit is just not funny. Honestly, it's not funny.
Bit misogynistic.
Yeah, it's not funny. I mean, great. Oh, good bit, mate. You brought back misogynistic humor. Well, hilarious. Yeah. But Rob muted me on that.
Which is a bit like Justin censoring,
Yeah, exactly. So that's that. But good on them. I'm going to be that's the plan. When I come back, I'm going to be doing Men is Live every 2 weeks. And then, so the Rundown and I'll alternate, and we'll both follow All in the Minna family. So
nice.
Actually, I'm hoping Men is Live also comes a bit of an after show for All in the Minna family. People can call up and criticize or praise, whatever.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
Really nice show that started the 90-Day Fiance wrap. I sort of don't ever listen, but I do watch it with the sound off most weeks. This week, the latest week in particular, Lauren Lynn, who's on the Hall of Fame ballot, well, she had a Hall of Fame cleavage going in this week's episode. So go and check that out. She needs to bring the camera a bit closer, but sensational. She's a healthy-looking woman.
Well, I've said it before. I'm a big fan of Ali T. She is my favorite Minna lady and top 3 Minna fan.
Kick her out of bed either.
She's awesome, and I also like Laura Lynn. So I might have to. I haven't actually watched the show yet because I'm like, I don't really watch the TV show.
Just turn the sound off. It's better without sound.
I can support that. I'll definitely get on board, especially. And you say start with this week's show. Some good content this week.
Yeah, absolutely. You can imagine they're talking dirty
Okay.
to you if the sound's down.
You could.
You can. So, I mean, that's all I'm really consuming from the YouTube network. Everything else is not really grabbing me. I do watch Justin's wrap-ups and
Yep.
always enjoy them. Mayo was a little bit disappointed. He was invited on the wrap-up after his appearance on the main show. Yeah.
Justin plans that in advance, but so unless he gets the heads up that Mayo's going to be on, it's hard for him to just change everything and then disinvite people just to bring him on. So I think Justin's doing a hell of a good job with that. Mayo just needs to relax. All right.
Yeah.
He didn't reach out to you to have you on, and you were a bigger feature for that show. So yeah, and it's okay to get Jared on to talk about the show that he was on, but if they're talking Minifan, well, you don't need Minifans on talking about that. You know, you get the regular guys that he has on regularly to discuss the show. Like he's got it going good.
Yeah,
Don't change the formula.
Tim's,
Justin.
I think, his Wednesday guy, isn't it? Tim in Canton does every
Yeah,
Wednesday.
and Tim's great because he has that encyclopedia of Minifan of the Miniverse. So don't change it, Justin. You're doing great.
Yeah, and I guess the last bit of Miniverse content I want to touch on was the Kirk and Off podcast. They've had some good episodes, but they had DEC on, Matt J, and boy, is he a condescending fuck. He was just he made me vomit in my mouth a few times. And, you know, I said a while ago last year, you know, I thought DC was actually underneath it all, the scumbag, and people sort of laughed at me. Right again, Menas. You know, just chalk it up. You know, me and Kirk, we're always right. We've got 100% record. That's why we're a great duo. You know,
R.A. Menas.
Yeah. So yeah, what did you listen to that? I mean, DC just came across awfully.
I thought the show 69 minutes was good. The concept was great, but yeah, that interview, it was their high profile interview. I just thought, yeah, he just came off as really bitter towards the way that Kirk sort of treated him with the sponsorship thing.
Fucking lied.
Just, yeah, the content in general, like, man, just, if you're checked out on the show, don't come on to Kirk and Off. I know they reached out, they're trying to be good, but just say no. You're checked out on the show. You don't know what's going on. MHB has done it right. He's just completely checked out. Doesn't come on any shows, doesn't do anything. Just go away. Go away into irrelevancy, as you know, former presidents do. Like, focus on what you're doing. I totally disagree with the whole using the same feed for his new podcast as the Minifan podcast, because that's just disingenuous. Like, you're literally just trying to grab Minifans as your fans and just continue on from there. But I just go away. Don't come back. Like, you've checked out completely. Say thanks. That sounds great, but you know, I don't really listen to the show anymore. I'm just going to move on. So,
and when Kirk called him and he was like, "Oh, Kirk, you seem so angry. You seem so upset."
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, he's the sort of person you just want to punch in the fucking face.
It was very condescending, you know, holier than thou sort of attitude from DEC. Like,
I've unsubscribed from every. You know, I still unfortunately had You Are Not Alone subscribed on the odd podcast app, and I went through after that and I just thought, you know, I don't want this, you know, this fucking dumb person in my life at all.
The only one I listened to was when John from Scranton was on. So,
just
because he's my guy.
I mean, and that was kind of funny, you know. John sort of basically, he's not an addict, just stole some money and felt guilty about it. Good story. Good story.
But he's a good Minifan.
Great Minifan. Forget all that other stuff I said, John. All right. Well, I guess that's this edition of the Aussie Minifan Show coming to an end. As we're going to be back every month with a new view from Down Under. Anything you want to touch on before we go, Jamie?
Yeah, just going back to Hall of Fame voting. Steve should not have a vote in the Hall of Fame. He hates the Minifans. He doesn't care about the show that the Minifans love. Why the hell does he get a vote? His vote is slanted. If you're a Minifan that's ever criticized him, you're never getting a vote. He only cares about the guys that do things for him. Matt Carano, I don't think he should get a vote. You can't get a vote if you hate the Minifans. Give me his vote. I love the Minifans and I love the show, and I'm never getting in anyway. So
what did Steve say today in the show, that the 99% of bad Minifans ruin it for the good 1%? So, you know, true. That's how he feels.
Yeah, it's a weird one that the majority's ruining the show, so you should only care about what the minority think. That's the way Steve. That's the opposite of the way Steve has said politic-wise his whole life. So,
all right, well,
yeah.
Well, that's it for this edition of the Aussie Minifan Show. Jamie, thanks so much. It's been great to see you. Don't get upset about what Kirk says. Let's work on the Aussie segment every Wednesday on the main show. Let's
Yep.
lift up that Wednesday show, and we'll be back
Yep.
next month.